literally means action. We tend to use it colloquially to mean that which you get. But those are more specifically the fruits of karma, the results of karma. Karma means action. Yoga means union. That's what the word means. Most of us tragically these days think it means a union of, my nose to my knees or my fingers to my toes. But it's actually a union of the self to the divine. So karma yoga is a union of the self to the divine by any name, any form. It doesn't matter how you conceive of that nameless, formless, infinite reality. But a union to that, to all, through action. And it's very interesting because I grew up in America, in California, and there was a saying when I was growing up in the sort of new agey world where people would say, we're not human doings, we're human beings. You should do less, be more. And I was young and impressionable, and I thought, okay, that sounds interesting. It never made a lot of sense. I had never been very inclined toward spirituality before coming to India and having this extraordinary experience on the banks of Mother Ganga. So I didn't pay much attention to it. But then when I started really learning about karma and about yoga, you realize, well, so the answer is not to act. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna makes it very clear you can't not act. There is no not acting. You could sit down, you could sit on your hands, you could put on a blindfold, you could stick earplugs in your ears, you're still acting. You're still doing. Because acts of omission, meaning what I'm not doing, are just as much actions as acts of commission, what I am doing. So for example, if somebody in front of me is starving and I don't give them something to eat, well, that's an action. Most of us think giving them something is an action, not giving them something is not an action, but it's also an action. It's not doing my duty. It's not fulfilling what I am supposed to fulfill in that moment, what I've been called to do in that moment. That is also an action. Not reaching down to help someone who has fallen is an action. And so Lord Krishna makes it very clear you can't not act. And this is so clear when Arjuna says, I don't want to fight this battle. I'm going to just go off into the mountains. Fighting this is going to be too painful. It's going to accrue too much karmic fruit. And Lord Krishna says, not so fast. You can't not fulfill your duty, fulfill your dharma, and think that somehow you are absolved of action. We all are acting. So then the choice becomes, okay, well, so if everything I do is action, including sitting here on my hands with my eyes closed and earplugs in my ears, then what sort of action should I do? What to act, what to do? And karma yoga is the answer to that. What it means is use your actions to come into union with the divine. It's one of the three main paths, again, that are given in the Bhagavad Gita. The path of knowledge, Gyan Yoga. The path of love or devotion, Bhakti Yoga. And the path of karma or action, Karma Yoga. But while there are 3 different starting points, they all actually take you to the same place. Because the truth is, when you really love, you serve anyway. So even if you begin with bhakti, it turns into karma yoga. Think of someone you love. Anyone. Someone you really love. Don't you do things for them? Don't you sometimes wake up in the morning and make them breakfast in bed, or write them a poem or a song, or massage their feet? Something. Bring them a glass of water. It's an action out of love. So it may have begun with love, but the action is the most natural outcome of it. And this is true with all of them. So Gyan, karma, bhakti, this knowledge, action, love, they're just different ways into the same stream. But action is something that actually runs through it all, because engaging in a path of Gyan Yoga, a path of wisdom, well, that's also karma, that's also an action. To read is an action. To come to satsang is an action. And that's karma. It's an action. To sit down to meditate, it's an action. So action is actually that which runs through it all. If I love God, I'm practicing Bhakti Yoga, and so I'm singing God's glories. Well, that's also an action. So Karma Yoga is very simply using our actions, using every minute, every moment of our life as a way to unite with God. Action rooted in unity. So remember, karma's action, yoga's union. So typically it's union through action, but it's also action rooted in unity. So that which I do that is rooted in my awareness of oneness is karma yoga. So it works both ways. Through the action you experience the union, and then once you've experienced the union, your actions are a reflection of that. And the beautiful thing is, anything can be karma yoga. Whatever you do, if you realize that you're doing it as a tool in God's hands, because of course this is then Lord Krishna's answer when Arjuna says, well then what to do? If I can't not act, what do I do about this cycle of karma? This cycle of birth and death? And Lord Krishna says, just surrender to me. Just be a tool in my hands. And so it becomes a path of, instead of thinking, what's in it for me? What am I going to get out of it? Instead of allowing it to be an action rooted in my ego or my fear or my indoctrination or what the next door neighbors are doing or what they're going to think. Instead of that, it's action rooted in emptying myself of all of that so that I can be just a vehicle, a vessel for the divine will to flow. And then it's karma yoga.